everyone, welcome back to my channel Pickup Books. I'm Komal and in today's video I'll be talking about the books I read in the month April. Reading wise, April was a great month, and since I was in a big reading slump since Feb, I could not read much in Feb and March. But this time in April, I challenged myself to read short books in a day or two. So I completed reading almost 3.5 books in 3 days, and I could finish almost 6 books in this month. First book that I read was this Wonderful Wizard of Oz by L. Frank, and though it's a children's book, adults can equally benefit from this book. And the story is that there is a little girl named Dorothy, and she is from the city of Kansas, and because of a tornado she is whirled into the land of Oz along with a dog named Toto, and she has to get back to her home. So she asks for help, and a person says that the wizard from the Emerald City can help her to get back home. So she is on the way to the Emerald City, and there she meets Scarecrow, and he does not have brains at all. And when she says her purpose, that she wants to go home and wizard can help her, he says that I don't have brains, so let me go along with you, and let's see if the wizard will provide brains for me. And the same is with the Tin Woodman as well. He has no heart, so he goes to the wizard to ask for heart. And then Cowardly Lion does not have courage, and he also joins the team, and they all go to ask the respective things. And what the wizard says is that I'll give one task and you have to complete that task, and only upon completion you'll be provided what you're asking for. And the book goes on if they will complete the task, whether they will get the things they wanted, and so on. And it's a very, very simple book. I think I just read it in a sitting, and it's almost 150 pages, so it can be easily read in 3 or 4 hours, and it's a very warm and fuzzy book. But along with this very simple storyline, there is a important message, I can say, and that is like sometimes we possess the things, sometimes we already have those things, but we don't know where to look for them, and sometimes it is within us and we don't know where to search for them. And that is the beauty of this book and the takeaway. Next book I read was Tell Me Your Dreams by Sidney Sheldon, and it was my first Sidney Sheldon book, and it was amazing. I loved his writing, I loved the plot construction, the characters. The case was so unique and so brilliantly handled. I can't say much about the plot because obviously spoilers, but all I can say is that there are 3 beautiful young women, and they are suspected of a series of brutal murders, and the police makes an arrest, and it leads to one of the most bizarre murder trials, and it is also based on a real murder case. If you want to go for a thriller, just go pick this up and thank me later. And if you want to watch a series that's somewhat related to this, you can go for Breathe Into the Shadows, that's available on Amazon Prime. Watch the 2nd season starring Abhishek Bachchan and Nitya Menon, and it's almost the same case, but as I read this, I was easily able to crack that case. So read this. Next book is A Room of One's Own by Virginia Woolf. I actually started reading this 2 or 3 years ago, but I had to return this book to the library. So I got a copy and I thought of reading this in my 24-hour readathon. And I would actually ask you guys, if you're reading this, don't read it in a go because it's very thin book. You might want to finish it in a day. but please savor the language, savor her writing, because I don't know how to describe her writing. It is delicious writing, and it makes you want more of her writing when you're finished reading this book. And since it was my first book, I had a hard time getting into the book, because the first chapter is where she presents the idea, and it's more of a essay writing kind of book, so it really took time to adjust, but later on it went really smoothly, and I loved how she took examples. And one such is that in the blurb she says, if Shakespeare had a sister as talented as he, would she have got the same opportunities to develop her skills? And there are so many such questions raised in this book, and it was written at a point where women did not read or write much of the books, let alone fiction. And what her idea is that woman has to have money and a room of her own to write fiction. And there are many such questions. One is that why no woman wrote a word of that extraordinary literature when every other man, it seemed, was capable of song or sonnet. And there's one quote, very beautiful. It says, for masterpieces are not single and solitary birds. They are the outcome of many years of thinking in common, of thinking by the body of the people, so that the experience of the mass is behind the single voice. And it's one of the finest book, and it's a masterpiece. Truly, it's a masterpiece. The next book I read was The Book of Tea by Okakura Kakuzo, and I actually listened to this. It is available on Google Podcast, and it was a part of my 24-hour long readathon, but I DNF'd it. I guess there was 1 hour remaining or so, and it was more of a history kind book, and it talked about how tea has affected the art, architecture, the culture of Japan, and how tea is so important in Japanese life, and more importantly it's because of its simplicity. And it talks about how tea was perceived in Jainism, Taoism, Maoism, and so on. And I don't know, it was very preachy kind of a book, and I was expecting something else from the book, but it turned out to be something else. So yeah, I DNF'd it. I might pick it up. I don't know. I don't really have the mood to read that, because I might actually love to read the paperback, but audiobook was too much to take in, because I was cleaning and it was going on in my head how tea has affected their lives, and I could not stop and take notes. So that was one part why I could not read. The next book I read was Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. It's a pretty thick book, you can see, and I started it in Feb and finally finished in April. And you can see I used tabs here, and I just used it over here in the starting and not in the end, and that pretty much sums up my feelings towards this book. When I started this book, it was really great, and up till 200, even 250 pages, it was going great because things were happening then. But later, after 250 pages, it was dead. It was just this guy's monologue, his ramblings, and his going to some other's home, coming back, and such chaos it was happening. And I'll just read out the blurb. After much introspection, Raskolnikov murders an old pawnbroker for the betterment of the society and escapes unnoticed. But will he be able to escape his own conscience? And there are a lot of things I don't like about this book. First is the monologue. It goes on and on and on. There is no stopping. Even till the last page it was on, and at some point I gave up. I was like, oh my god, I have my own problems and I don't want to know this Raskolnikov's problems and what he has, the thoughts in his head and all of those things. The next is very descriptive writing. I love descriptive narrative to a certain point, but when it crosses that limit, it becomes very irritative and it becomes so unbearable, because everything you describe and we are like, oh my god, I get it, please stop. It was like that. And the third is the names. It's obviously the Russian setting, so the names, and I was getting so confused with the names, and I feel for me the way I connect with the characters first would be the name itself. If I can pronounce, if I can actually identify, okay, this guy's name is this, then I can imagine the scenario properly. But here it was oh my god, there were so many names, and one guy's name is like is multiple names, and this Raskolnikov's name is actually Rodion Romanovich Raskolnikov, also called as Rodia and Rodka. So like somewhere it's using Rodia, somewhere Rodion, somewhere Raskolnikov, and I'm like, oh my god, I can't read this anymore. And I was actually getting confused with a lot of characters because they had the same surnames, and this, I think, Raskolnikov and Razumikin, I was very confused with that. And also with what was the sister's name? Yeah, Evdotia Romanovna Raskolnikov, also called as Dunya. Like at first I was actually writing the names down here. I did put in some efforts, but later I just gave up because I could not make this family tree, make this a chart. I think I should make an Excel sheet of these names and everything. But yeah, this book did not actually work for me. The last book is Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. Actually, it's my bookshelf. Yeah, over here. Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. After finishing Crime and Punishment, I was very skeptical about choosing my next read. So on my Instagram story, I put this picture of this bookshelf asking, help me guys pick my next read, and few of you actually voted for Shoe Dog, and thank you guys. This is the amazing book I have read, and it's one of my favorite April reads, one of my favorite 2021 reads, one of my favorite reads from this point I started reading. And it's so beautifully written, and Phil Knight makes you part of his Nike journey. And I actually did not finish reading this book. I am in 1979 chapter. I think 50 pages are left, and the chapters are named after the years. It started in 1962, so it goes on. And as a reader, when you see Nike company grow, where it was in 1962, it was just a crazy idea about this running shoes, and it was actually Blue Ribbon. It was called as Blue Ribbon, and then later in 1975 it actually grows and grows, and then you see Nike coming to shape, and it's so wonderful. It's so wonderful to be the part of this beautiful journey, and I have a lot to say about this book. I'll probably post not a review, but my takeaways and why you should read. This is one of the books that everyone has to read, and even if you don't read much books, even if you read like 2 books, a year, make this book that one book that you'll read, because it is the best book. It's really so good. Okay, I just limit myself here because I'll post a video about this soon. So these are the books I read in April, and that's it for today's video. Tell me if you have read any of these books, and tell me your favorite April reads in the comment section, and hope you enjoyed watching this video, sorry. Hope you enjoyed watching this video. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll meet pretty soon. Bye bye. Take care.